Hey, it's your Uncle Sam here, and I would like to partner with you on your savings, investments, and your retirement. Okay, first of all, let's get one thing straight. He is not your uncle. He is not family. He does not care about you or love you like family. Well, actually, I guess that depends on your family. Maybe he does. But either way, he does want to be a part of your savings, your investments, your retirement, and we need to do everything we can to minimize the taxation on your money, because that could be one of the largest wealth transfers that you ever make with your money, because the amount of taxes that you pay could be invested and earning interest for you. So if you are one of those types of people that likes to pay extra taxes, then great. We appreciate your contribution. If you would like to minimize taxes, then you're going to want to pay close attention to this module, because in this module, we are going to dive into all things taxes and how they affect your money, your savings, your retirement, your investments. And it is very important to do everything you can to minimize the taxation. So let's go ahead and dive into it, and let's get started with tax history. We can always learn a lot from history, and that is definitely true in this example as well. So what we have here are the top tax brackets since 1913, when the IRS was invented or created. So in this module, we are going to refer to them as the IRS or the government, not your Uncle Sam, all right? So we've got a few different, events during time that I want to highlight here. And so let's look first of all at this first little event here, which was World War I. Right in here, okay, is when we had World War I. Following World War I, the next major event was the stock market crash, okay? So right in here was when we had the stock market crash, which was followed by the Great Depression. Okay, so right in here. Now, look at this for a minute. The upper income tax bracket was taxed over 60% at the time. Okay, now, one of my favorites is right around in here. In 1941, you were taxed at over 80%, like 81%, if you made over $5 million. So in other words, they were targeting like Henry Ford and a few others. There weren't very many people making over $5 million in 1941. However, in just 1 year later, 1942, they lowered the threshold to $200,000. Now think about that for a minute. 1 year prior, right, you had to make way more money to be in that top tax bracket. And now, if you make over $200,000, you fell into that top tax bracket, and you were taxed at 88%, right? If you made over $200,000. Okay, then we had World War II right around in here, following which the other major event that we had was the Korean War. Now, look at this. The upper income tax bracket is being taxed over 90% during all these wars. Okay, over here we had JFK right around in that time frame. Over here we had the Vietnam War, all right? And then another major event that is not on here but that I want to point out is that right around in here, okay, in the late 70s and pretty much during the 70s, all of those people that were making a good income, like all of your executives at GE and Ford and some of these major corporations, they all, of course, had pensions. Pretty much everyone back then had a pension. But being in such a high tax bracket for so long, they wanted to do anything and everything they could to defer the taxes until later. Or in other words, postpone their taxes until later. They wanted to invest their money in a way that they could pay taxes when they took the money out, and that's when they came out with what we call qualified plans. The most common one is the 401k, but the 401k, the 403b, the 457, your IRAs, all of these qualified plans came out in the early 80s. Now, if you think about it, The Wall Street had just kind of been trying to promote their mutual funds that were pretty new, and they wanted everyone to put money into the mutual funds, so they partnered up with this idea of the 401k, and they said, hey, let's put our mutual funds inside these 401ks. And so Wall Street was pretty excited about the 401k. The government said, so you're saying that you're going to partner with me on your retirement, and I can decide how much of your money I want in the future. So let's say you're in a 20% tax bracket right now, and let's make that an even 20 right there, okay? So you have let's say first of all, you have $100,000 in your 401k. Well, you don't actually have $100,000 in your 401k, do you? You have $80,000 in your 401k, and the IRS is your partner, and they have $20,000 of your $100,000. But here's what's interesting about this, is that all they have to do is raise taxes, and they get to take more of your retirement. In fact, let's turn on this average line here. The average line is right here, the black line. Now think about that for a minute. What if we were up to that average line? If we were on the average line, the IRS would actually own more of your retirement than you do. So let's say that you're in this low tax bracket and you're putting all this money into a qualified plan that allows you to postpone or defer your taxes like was the original plan. The question to ask yourself is, are you deferring your taxes to a lower tax bracket, or are you deferring your taxes to a higher tax bracket? Now, maybe your financial advisor has said, well, don't worry about it, because when you're retired, you're going to be a lot, your income's going to be a lot lower than what it is today. Well, doesn't that defeat the purpose of retirement planning? Isn't your goal to retire at the same lifestyle as when you're working? Now, maybe you're going to downsize. Maybe you're going to move to a place where it's cheaper to live. Maybe you're going to get a smaller home, but you're also going to have increased medical bills and health issues. And so you're also going to have grandkids. And the expenses during your retirement are not always less than in your working years. Plus, you have to ask yourself, what kind of write-offs do you have right now? If you have kids, if you have a mortgage payment, there are certain tax write-offs that you might have now that you don't have later. So in my experience, I haven't seen a major decrease in taxable income for people who are in retirement. If they do what they're planning to do, and if they reach their goals, they're going to be retiring at a similar lifestyle. So as you start to take all of this money out of your qualified plans and out of your retirement, are you going to be giving more of it to the government than you're going to get to keep? We don't know, right? We don't know. Maybe taxes will be lower, but it's up to you to decide. So if you want to partner with the IRS, that's great, but you need to understand what you're getting into. You need to understand what that partnership looks like, okay? So let's kind of continue down here at this low mark down here. At this low mark down here, we had Ronald Reagan when taxes were at an all-time low. After that, we had the Gulf War, okay, it was right around in there. And then we had the Bill Clinton time frame, right around in there. Over here, we have the COVID-19 pandemic, something that we're all very familiar with, all right? And then after that, we have what we call future concerns, rates, thresholds, and deductions. So, question is, what does the future look like? What has the government's involvement been in the past? What is their involvement going to be in the future? What do taxes look like for you? And more importantly, how do taxes affect your money? And that is what we're going to dive into in this module.